up the volume. Get bearded. Let's start the show.
Welcome to Bearded Biomed. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to an all-new episode of the Bearded Biomed. I appreciate you joining me today. The person I have with me today is very accomplished and in her own respective field, of course. She's not a biomed, so this is a little out of the box for you folks, but that's okay. She comes from a STEM background, and as we all know, engineering, mechanics, electrical, all these things tie into each other. It's not just a one-shoe-fits-all kind of approach. Welcome, Dr. Dayna Martinez. Thank you for joining me today. And if you wouldn't mind just letting the folks watching, listening, know where you come from. What's your background?
Sure. Thank you so much, Chase, for having me. I'm so excited to be here today. So as you said, my name is Dr. Dayna Martinez. I'm originally from Puerto Rico, born and raised. And I had an interest in STEM since I was a little girl, but particular in math. And as I was growing up, I discovered engineering, and I did my bachelor's in industrial engineering from the University of Puerto Rico, Mayagüez campus. After that, and something that has shaped kind of my journey is people, mentors, sponsors that saw in me something that I didn't see in myself, and a potential and opportunities that maybe I didn't know about. So when I graduated with my bachelor's, I thought I was done and that I was going to look for a job and work, right? And this professor opened the door for me to go to graduate school. So that's how I went to the University of South Florida, where I got my master's and PhD in industrial engineering as well. After that, I worked in healthcare systems engineering for a while. And again, thinking that that was going to be what my career was going to focus on. I had a mentor that asked me what I thought about teaching. I have never thought about that before, but I say, why not? And apply for a position at Northeastern University in Boston. And I was a professor at the Mechanical and Industrial Engineering Department for about 6 years. And after that, the pandemic hit. My family was able to relocate to Florida. We were in Boston. And that's how I found my position with SHPEing, the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, where I worked as my last position there was Senior Director of Research and Impact. And it was like a full circle moment for me because I have been a member since I was an undergraduate student. So that's a little bit about me and my career journey.
It's kind of interesting. One, the teaching aspect, right? Like a lot of the professors in our field that I've spoken to, they either really wanted to do it or you were approached with it when you didn't think it was something you were interested in. And all of them, they're fantastic at it. And I'm sure rightly so. Like, someone saw that in you, that you had the potential to not only show folks and teach them about everything that your curriculum has, but also impart some wisdom that hopefully sets them up for success even better than you were before. When I was reached out to by an associate of ours, Oscar, the main thing why we want to have this conversation today is there is a demographic, which obviously I'm a part of as well, last name Torres, but we in the Latin community, there is such a growing trend of our demographic that is really making headways and strides and waves in the STEM communities in all different kinds of professions. And rightly so, your story is just the shining example of that. I constantly am just impressed with all the ladies that I'm meeting in our industry that are making headway and are really kind of just taking lead and stride in a career field that honestly merits a lot of the skill sets, community, culture, work ethic in general. Like, there's so many things that I think our Latin culture brings together that really translates well into STEM. And I know part of our discussion today was going to be getting into some of that, but it's endearing to hear your story and kind of the full encompassing circle of it, because there's actually so many of these ladies I'm speaking of specifically that are in Florida right now and are now leading the way with their own companies, managing departments. And it's from the figures that we've seen, demographic surveys in our field in particular, we're getting more and more interest from different demographics. It's good to have a different mixture of male, female, Latin, African American, Asian, white. You want to have a healthy mix of all that in any kind of career field, elevating that profession that they're in. So that's kind of what the conversation I think is we're alluding to today. And I'd be interested in kind of where you want to take it next.
Yeah. And just, going with what you just said, there's a gap, right? And I know specifically of the Hispanic community because that was my focus when I was at SHPEing. We're almost 1/4 of the U.S. population, projected to be 1/3. And as I heard before, that's going to be a hello, hola, right? Like 1 in 3, projected to be 1 in 3. But yet we are only 9% of the STEM workforce. So there's definitely a disconnect there, right? Yeah, room to grow for sure. And one of our major motivators is, Hispanic members into the workforce. And there is an estimated 11.8 million jobs that are going to be available in STEM by 2033. And, the U.S., if we don't fill those jobs, we're going to be in trouble, right? And that impacts the economy, innovation, you name it, right? So many different things. And the Hispanic community and our youth specifically, right? We are positioned to be able to fill, to help fill that gap. We have within our community very capable people that bring so many things, like you were saying, to the table. And yes, it's not about us taking more representation than the one that we have. It's not about taking the piece of the pie of other groups. Like you were saying, you need a healthy mixture of everything. You need diverse teams. It's about like growing the pie, right? So that everyone has room to work in these fields.
So some of which I know the survey is going to be rehashed here probably in the near future, but usually Amy, which is, they handle a lot of the framework and such with building that for FDA compliance, stuff like that within our field. But they also do a demographic survey. And the last one that they did, it was about 5 or so years ago, showed that it's actually a booming issue within our community as biomeds. But more than half of our workforce is over 40 plus. At least half of the workforce is male and white. At this point, it's probably sooner. But we constantly say between 5 to 10 years, at least 40% of our workforce is going to retire. And in between that, you look at the demographic aspect of it, maybe 15%, probably a little bit less than that, is women. And then if you get into different demographics from that, they're even smaller chunks. And there's so much more room to grow with that. And I think a lot of that is, again, the awareness aspect, but also kind of building frameworks and pathways to get the Hispanic Latin community involved into it. Because many of the folks that I talk to that are in those demographics, they either found out by accident, which is pretty common in our field, or they didn't believe that they had the ability to do so, which isn't true. There's so many different pathways nowadays compared to what was available 5, 10, 15 years ago when I got into the field. I'm sure the same speaks for your same journey as well.
Well, definitely. And for me, I discovered engineering through a teacher that talked to me about it. Like I didn't have any engineering role models. And that's one of the things that we talk about in a report that we just published the second edition of. It's called the CHIP LDC, U.S. Latinos in Engineering and Tech Report. And one of the things that we talk about is the importance of role models, right? This notion that if you see it, you can be it. And that's one of the things that CHIP does, and is provide our youth with those role models. And research shows that you have to get them young, that you have to get them excited about STEM at a young even, middle school and high school might be a little bit too late. A lot of students start getting these beliefs if they're good or not at math and science and technology, engineering at a younger age, right? So we have within our organization programs that help build, that confidence in STEM, helping them see themselves as STEM professionals and increase the awareness of these programs within our community. But you're absolutely right.
You make a good point is they have to see it to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about, just everything going on today, if they, let's say you have a kid that's technically inclined, like they like tinkering with stuff. They like putting stuff together. I mean, my favorite toy as a kid was Legos. I loved building, taking apart, making things out of nothing. And that's very much, that speaks to engineering. At some point I wanted to be an architect, and then I was like, well, maybe I want to, engineer something. And then it went from, when I had finally graduated, I actually was going for geology. And then that didn't work out because I had to support myself, dropped out, went to the Army, and here we are today. I ended up finding the biomed career field. And I love fixing stuff. I love tinkering things. I love finding solutions. And let's say we went and a colleague of mine, Bryant Hawkins, he goes and speaks to schools. I've spoken to a couple as well. A lot of the kids, they don't know that these jobs, these professions are even out there. It's always the common doctor, nurse, police officer, firefighter, athlete. The things that you constantly see on TV, on the internet, family members, because another cliche is, especially in Hispanic, Latin communities, and I think Asian as well, is, doctor, nurse, lawyer, all the big stuff that everybody knows, pays well, and gives you kind of like a comfort level career path. But if no one had told me that I could be in hospitals and surgery centers and ERs and doctors' clinics, taking apart, pairing, calibrating, managing medical devices that help keep people alive and treat them, I would have never known about it. But it's an amazing profession. There's so many different sectors of engineering as well that really, that's the main goal, is we want people to know that you don't have to go for just the thing from your daily ingesting of media and content and people telling you something exists. We have the capacity in us to really get into some really cool tech engineering professions.
Absolutely. That's why I was saying, right, like how role models are so important, and also parent support, right? If you notice a kid that, like you, had that interest in Legos or in building stuff, or took the TV apart and then try to put it back together, if you see those interests, to try to nurture, keep spiking their curiosity and things like that. And there are so many free resources out there. It's just a matter of really finding them. And I'm just going to tell you briefly about 2 free resources that we have at SHPEing. And one is our virtual STEM labs. It's a program that happens once a month, completely free for pre-college students. So we have students from kindergarten all the way to high school. And in this program, we send them, again, completely free, a kit with a hands-on activity that then we build together virtually. And during that time that we build that together virtually, they have facilitators that are other engineering or STEM students and professionals. So again, that scene of role models. And at the end, we have what I like to call the cutest show and tell ever, where students share, right, what they have built together. And again, this is a program that is aiming to bring awareness about STEM careers and help with that self-confidence and sense of belonging in STEM. And then, as I was telling you, another very important piece of the puzzle is parent support, and letting parents know, right, also about all of these options that are out there for their children. And we have a program called Equipando Padres, Equipping Parents. That is a program for the parents, not the student member. And basically, with this program, what we hope to do is to equip the parents with the tool and knowledge necessary so they can better support their children to complete their engineering degrees. Those two things are very important. One, the awareness and taking them since they're little, and then also the parent support, so that as we support parents, parents have more self-confidence in supporting their children.
And to be honest, like when you have a kid, they don't know what they want to do yet. And if you
Right.
don't put something in front of them for them to try, they'll never know if they like it or not.
Right.
So having an activity like that for them to experience it at least gets the door open in their mind, like, hey, this might be something I like or not. If you want your kid to be interested in a sport, for instance, well, obviously you gotta get them involved in it to see if they'll actually want to do it, pursue it, try it. The same thing goes with anything within a technical aspect. And hopefully my son tries to go down the biomed field, but at the end of the day, I'll support him whatever he wants.
Yeah.
I would look at something like that as a bonding opportunity too, for us to do something together. Little kits and things that you can kind of spark creativity, and have that hands-on experience. And obviously you guys are going to the length of making sure that it's also the kid and the parent that has some kind of experience to where they can build that community. Now, that report that you guys came out with, was there any like particular interesting figures?
Yeah, so going back to that, we talk about those two programs in the report as well and show how successful they have been. So that's something that is in the report. We also talk about like how we are doing the educational attainment of Hispanics in engineering and how that has increased over the past decade, which is good. Then we try to stay with a growth mindset, right? And positive. But the reality is that there's many obstacles and challenges to attaining STEM degrees. There's financial burden. A lot of our students are first generation to college. So that means that their parents, again, don't have the experience to be able to support them with, instructional type things. Emotionally, parents, Hispanic parents are there 100%. But maybe, because they don't have the college experience themselves, they can't support their children in that way. And there's a lot of challenges that come with being a first generation to college student. There are, mental health barriers. And we talk about those challenges, and we talk about what SHPEing has been doing to try to help our members with those challenges, and just, bringing awareness of some of the issues. But then despite that, our members are graduating, completing their degrees, right? So we talk about our graduation rate, which is 88%, compared to the national average graduation rate for engineering, which is 50%. Some of our programs, right, it's evident, is working in supporting our members. And then we finish out the report with a call to action to not only individuals, but also academic institutions, corporations and organizations, government, how, right, we can keep working together with the main goal of increasing the representation of Hispanics in STEM careers.
So obviously I'll be sure to share any resources you provide to me, and I'll put them in the descriptions for folks that want to check them out. Anybody that wants to learn about CHIP as well, I highly encourage it. You guys obviously are advocating for growth of STEM, growing Latin community as well within our engineering kind of ecosystem that really spans to so many different types of career opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the capacity to really make our mark in this world. The goal at the end of the day is to get the younger generations, the kids to middle school to high school, to see that this is a pathway. This is an opportunity that you can make really good money. You can obviously support yourself and your family, but you can also really have an amazing career that you would never have expected unless you found out about it. So I think the goal, as you mentioned, really, we need to make people aware that this is something that you can do.
Thank you so much for sharing those resources with your audience. I will also like to encourage everyone to download the report and read it, because there's a lot of what we just discussed in there, that I think it's helpful.
And it's encouraging to see too. We all can maybe see that we're seeing change, but to actually see the raw
The
data.
numbers.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
By the way, how often do you usually run this report? Like, I know this is the second one.
Yeah, so actually, so this report is based on a needs assessment survey that we do with our members, and we have done it for a couple of years now, and have a report that we did a couple of years ago, and then this report that was published this year, but with last year's data. That's usually how we do it, and that's the hope, to be able to do this annually, to keep, updating the data. Things move so fast, right? And things in STEM specifically change so fast. Now, for example, something that we didn't talk about in the first report, and then a year later, it's a huge boom, is AI, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then you need to update. So that's our hope, to be able to do these annually, to keep up like with the trends and things that we see in STEM.
Well, when you do the next one, I'd be kind of curious to get that third report and just see.
Yes.
I'm a data guy. I like seeing, numbers go up, especially when we talk about our communities. So first off, I want to say thank you for coming on. It's not the typical interview that I normally love having my biomed colleagues and brethren on here, but this is important too. At the end of the day, whether you want to be a biomed or not, I want to see more people get into technically inclined careers, especially within the Hispanic Latin community, because I see so many people that they don't know what they want to do, and we just need to make them aware that this is an avenue. And it's
Right.
I appreciate it hearing your story and your background, because I see so many of my female technicians that who knows where they're going to be 10, 15 years from now. Hopefully they're doing even better than me, because that's the goal.
Yeah, Biomed is part of STEM, so all of these resources are for all of you as well.
And they're free.
And they're free, yeah, usually just with membership, but we try again to make membership very accessible. It's just $10 for students.
If you had to give one thing that led to your success to where you are today, what would that be?
Wow. So one thing that led to my success, I would have to say, is it's okay to be afraid, right? And I think a lot of times in my career, I hit moments where I was so scared about my next step and if I was going to be able to do it, but I didn't let that fear stop me. It usually, most of the times it didn't go away. It was still there, but I did the things afraid. If you're scared, if you're afraid, that's normal.
I kind of say something similar. I tune it more to don't be afraid of failure.
Yeah.
Because even if you do fail, it's a learning experience that just helps you grow. We're not robots. We're not perfect.
We're not growing.
It's going to be a learning opportunity.
Love that. Yeah.
Thank you again for being on. If anybody wants to check out those resources, please check out the description below. As always, I appreciate your support of the Bearded Biomed podcast. If you like, subscribe, share, check out other videos, of course. At the end of the day, I do this for you, and we appreciate all the support that you provide to the show. So may the beard be with you, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you so much.
And hope you have a great day. Thank you.
Biomed.